Whether you're rich, whether you're poor, your kids really don't know until someone tells them. Let's be real. They'll be happy, they'll be content if there's love and if you're there. So I preach that, and I try and teach people the importance of that. And
we're here with another guest, and goes by the name of Mr. McBride, first name Greg. And welcome to the show, Greg. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, man. Greg is one of maybe like 3 or 4 personal trainers that I would actually hire to train me.
Okay.
You know what I mean, it's hard to find a guy that you trust, because a lot of times, and you probably are familiar too. You're at the gym or whatever. You're looking at these trainers and you're like, man, I should be training this dude. Like I don't know, man. you don't like that I'm saying that.
Gotta have some pride in yourself, man. Gotta have some pride.
You know what I mean? But it's like, but sometimes, it's just like anything else, though. It's like, if I want to learn how to play basketball, who should I hire? Should I hire, LeBron James, or should I hire Rob? It's the same thing, right? Like, if I see somebody at the gym that's a personal trainer, but they don't.
I'm like, dang, that's a shot, Rob.
But they don't look like they've achieved the physique that you're going for. Doesn't it make it better sense to hire the guy that's achieved the physique that you're going for? You know what I mean? Or do you disagree with that statement?
No, not at all. I definitely say. I think that's a thing that people maybe put a little too much into sometimes. But for real, if you have a trainer that's a fat trainer, I'm sorry. I'm never going to want to say, I think you can get me where I want to be.
Correct. And it's like, they might have all the knowledge, but if they're not, they're not doing it, you know what I mean? And there's female trainers that I would hire. Obviously, they don't have, obviously the physique I'm trying to attain isn't their physique, but I still trust that they know what they're doing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but the other thing is that Greg himself, and this is the one thing that, would be cool, I'll be telling everybody, is you're a pro bodybuilder, man.
Sir.
So, like, for me, I would be saying, like, I'm a pro athlete. Be like, what do you do? I'm a pro athlete, sir. like, what sport? Like, don't worry about that. I'm a professional athlete.
I got to find a way to put that in there more. pro.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'd be saying. So explain to us those, because I know you have, you said you had 3 pro cards.
Three pro cards. So it's been a long time coming. I started in this, 8 years ago on a whim, honestly. Friend said, I was at a gym when I was still living in Florida, and he was like, hey, you ever thought about this? I'm like, what? He's like, they got a new physique class in bodybuilding. You should try it out. I think you can do really well. You probably could win some. I'm like, cool. 5 months later, signed up for a show, got first. I'm like, you know what? I think I can stick with this. Winning's fun. I enjoy winning. So I did that, but continue out some years. Before then, I was only doing NPC, which is the non-tested organization. So I was doing well there anyway, but then I finally realized that, hey, I can compete in naturals. At first I thought naturals was kind of a cop-out for me. And even though I wasn't taking steroids or anything else, I still felt like saying I'm natural is a cop-out until I started seeing some of the natural guys that are out there who are actually really dang good.
Mm-hmm.
And so switched over when I came actually to Minnesota's when I finally switched into that. And got my pro card, the IPE. I think my first year I started competing there, and that was awesome. So I got the IPE pro card first, and I had that for a couple years. Then I went for another one. I got the OCB, and that was only 3 years ago. That's when I really got serious. And then I got the USBF that year as well. So
it just feels like everybody else I know that competes gets to like the competition where if they place first or second, isn't it? They get their pro card, and then they just don't do it. Like you're the only guy I know that actually got over the hump, I feel like.
See, yeah, that's fun. See, that was the hard part with, and that's where the NPC has certain shows where you can only qualify. And it's harder. Let's say it's harder at the NPC than it is from NPC to go to IFBB than it is, I feel, in the natural world. Some organizations are trying to change that though, which I love. Change it, make it harder, because where they say, hey, if there's 5 competitors and the first place wins, you're a pro. But what if everybody didn't look good and you win? That doesn't mean you're ready. So some organizations are trying to change that up a little bit, but it is.
So tough. You gone to shows before where this all get on stage, no one looks good?
When the year I got my first pro card, I got second in a show that hands down I feel like I should have won. But they said I was in the wrong class. I did classic when they said I should have been doing bodybuilding. So I was the best on stage. No one argued that. but I didn't quite look like the criteria. So the guy who did win probably shouldn't have won because compared to all the other people who have getting pro cards, he just didn't match up.
Did you see that show that they had in India? You seen that one where that dude just got thrown? This dude just got thrown off stage because they're like, this dude ain't natural. He looked great. He looked better than everybody out there.
Yeah, Roy's.
I don't know. That's the judge that said, nah, you don't fit the criteria. You're out. And he was definitely the biggest dude out there. You could tell he worked, pretty hard to look like that. But who knows, man? I mean, I don't know if he was on something or not. He probably was, but
even that, it still makes a difference.
Yeah,
I see it more in women's than in men, though, where it's like, oh, I want to compete in. Women have way more categories like figure, bikini, physique, and some still do bodybuilding. But if you're trying to do physique and you look like you don't have enough muscle, stick to what you should be doing, bikini,
Yeah.
So fit the criteria, dominate.
Yeah, definitely.
I remember cutting you one time and you were training for a show. We had talked about it.
Yep, that was the year when I got my my first pro card.
Okay.
Do you think you got the pro card because of your physique or because of your haircut?
So hold on, check this.
Go ahead, spill the beans. Let him know.
So yeah, did I still have dreads then?
No.
Okay, so you got me. That was
right after dreads.
So perfect. That was right after I got my first pro card then. So I was on the way for trying to get the second one.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the things I said I was gonna do to cut my hair. I'm like, I'm gonna keep this hair as long as my son's not in school yet, until he starts school or until I get my pro card. The reason was like pro card, just change it up a little bit. 2, I figured once he starts school, I was gonna have a lot more hair loss, and I didn't want to be that dude. Like, it'll be, hey, what's your dad got dreads? Yeah,
like the dude's hanging on
the side.
He's holding on.
Stevie Wonders.
No, my dad used to have dreads just in the back.
The Mayweather's dad. That's what come to my mind. I ain't want that.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it.
You told me to go compete, didn't you?
Yeah. You got. It's amazing to me some of the people that get out there that shouldn't be, and the people who could that just don't think they have it or just don't want to. And that's okay if you don't want to. But yeah, I mean.
See, I need to go out there the one where you wear the swimming trunks so you don't have to show off your legs.
The ones above the knee.
I mean,
trying to
control a little bit past me, but yeah.
Oh.
That's where I started though.
Okay.
That's where I started.
Yeah. What's that one?
Physique.
Yeah.
Men only got a couple of options. Physique. Now it's classic physique and bodybuilding. That's it.
How long you got to train for the physique one?
Where are you competing at? You compete in natural, be honest, it's not a lot. There are some freaks out there, but they're pros. And the guys that look really great. But if you're not a pro yet, it's not. I honestly feel it's not that hard to get out there because, I mean, you're looking for the beach body.
Okay.
And the fact that you don't have to show your legs makes it a little bit easier.
So the legs they don't even judge your legs.
I'm not going to say it's a non-factor because if someone has legs, you can tell their shorts are tight,
Yeah.
They got some mass there.
Yeah.
And you'll see it. And all other things being equal, they'll look at that. That was something I got into now. I started to judge a little bit.
Okay.
And that's fun. It's hard. A lot harder than I thought.
What are the things that you have to look for?
You're looking at balance, upper body, lower body symmetry, left to right, front to back, and comparing different body parts to everyone else. That's a lot to keep track of. And I did one show where we were judging. I was test judging. I started at 9 a.m. and I was there till 9 p.m. It was the longest day of my life. It was so long, and we're sitting there. I'm looking at hundreds and hundreds of people because I think they had close to 300 people at that show. And I'm like, by the end of the day, I'm like, I'm done. I get it.
Yeah, it's like you can't even, at that point, I mean, are you even being a good judge? Towards the end of the day, you're like, man.
It's hard because you don't want to sit there, but you want to give everyone a fair shot. You want to make sure everyone gets compared properly, and you want to make sure that you see everything. And so, yes, they're going to go through their turns. You're going to rearrange them. But it's like, okay, I'm tired.
So the more you see, is it easier to pick out the best in show?
For sure.
Right away?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I mean, and that's not the hard part. You're normally going to find out. You can normally see the top easy.
Okay.
But it's figuring out the placing of everyone else. It's the tough part.
Oh, okay.
Because you still want to accurately judge them, but it's like it's small differences. Sometimes it'll come down to your tan's bad.
Oh.
Literally.
Dang.
Or your poser's a little off.
I never realized what was the purpose of tanning.
Perfect. So you guys got this nice setup here. And think about it that way. When you're tanning, you do it the same reason people do it when they're in Broadway or television, the lights are so bright. If you don't, it'll drown you out. And I for real found that out in my first show. I was the only black dude on the stage, and I was the lightest.
Oh, for real?
And I was flat, just drowned out because the lights are so bright, you could barely see any definition on me. So that's the big reason for contouring.
Okay.
So you need that.
So do they actually, when they're tanning a bodybuilder, do they try to purposely contour different?
Some do.
Different
There's a limit to what you can do there. You're not really supposed to do too much. But
okay.
When they normally have someone that does everyone. Some people go out and do their own thing, but
Spray.
they do have a specific tanner for each show, so everybody has it's like an equal shot basically.
Okay.
When you do that. So
Get you.
if they're going to contour you, they're going to contour someone else as well.
Do you think that? What do you think the average age is at these shows? Are they a little bit older or are they younger?
Normally younger.
For real?
I didn't start until I was 27, and I think that's a solid age. That's like the mid point. Most people, I mean, when they're really good, they're starting like at 22, 21.
Because I felt like I was big but weak when I was in my early 20s. You know what I mean? I was all show, no go. They'd be like, lift that weight. I'm like, I'm good, bro.
Well,
I already lifted all that weight earlier. I'll do it.
If you're trying to get on stage,
do it later.
Do it matter though?
No, it really doesn't. It really doesn't at that point. But then you see like the pros, right? Like back in the day, the Ronnie Coleman's and these guys, those guys were like in their 40s. You know what I mean?
Yep. I think that's when people are really at their best is like mid 30s. I think that's when people are peaked, and that's why they're winning because they've had all those years to mature. Their muscles are pretty much at their max. But then after that, it's a steep decline for most people.
Like you seen Coleman, you see how he is.
Yeah, he can't walk.
He
can't walk.
That scares me.
Yeah, man, but it's not like he was lifting like you're lifting. I mean, he was going buck wild. He was like every one of his vertebrae are like fused.
Was he on like back surgery number 9 or something crazy like that?
Yeah, that's insanity, man. But when did you start lifting?
When I was 12.
When you were 12, and how old are you now?
Good question. I'm really thinking about this.
You do have to think about it when you get a little older.
No,
I think I'm 37, 38, 31 of them.
Okay, so you've been lifting for 25 years or so.
38, yeah, here we go. 38. Is that this year? This year I'll be 38. There we go. Coming up
Yeah,
later.
you gotta. It's not like you walk around every day saying your age like you were when you were younger.
Yeah, no, how old are you? 38 and a half. So you've been lifting for 25 years. Have you only been a personal trainer? I mean, I've known you for I've known you for at least 10 years probably from Lifetime, right? Because when did you come here to Minnesota?
I guess it's been about, it was like 6-7 years ago.
6-7 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
But that's all I did. So I went to school. I wanted to do everything. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but it was always something based in science. I love biology. I love the sciences and all that. So I went from like being...
so you're like, screw biology, I'm going to do bro science.
I went from like wanting to do athletic training to I was going to start doing change my classes up for pharmacy. And then I stuck more along the lines of, I got my bachelor's in pre-physical therapy. So that was kind of the route. So everything going the way I thought it was going to, I would have been back and got my doctorate for physical therapy. But I was a rehab tech. That's the only other job I really had outside of personal training. I was a rehab tech for like a year. Also, because you have to have some hours in the field before you apply to these grad schools. And yeah, I didn't love it. So I said, no, I'm not going to do it because I had no control over how I wanted to do the programs. Like there's set protocols. And when you deal with insurance, like you have to do X, Y, Z, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a lot of wiggle room. Doctors, this is the surgery we had. This is what I want you to do. Facilitate it. So.
Yeah, and with obviously the personal training, you can kind of formulate around the person. Every person's going to be different. That's one of the reasons why because I always wanted to be a personal trainer when I was younger. That was like one of the things that I had on my, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a personal trainer. But one of the things that made me not want to do it was the mindset of like, I tell somebody to do these certain things. They don't do them. They stay out of shape. And then it looks like I don't know what I'm doing, or it makes me feel like I'm not doing the right things.
Yeah.
And then the second part of that would be them telling me they're doing what I'm telling them and it just not working. And I'm like, but wait a second, like if you were doing what I told you to do, if you were eating what I told you to eat, it would be working, right? Right? And you start questioning yourself, like, you know what I mean?
That's big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't, that's why it's tough. You can't make anyone do anything.
I remember a long time ago, and I'm not going to drop any names. I referred a guy to Greg, And this dude, man, he was going to see Greg, and then I would see him over there eating donuts and stuff. I'm like, Greg, tell you can eat that? He's like, hey, man. He's like, be easy, man. I'm not putting this in the app. So it's like, so I'm like, so Greg is over here working hard on this dude's physique, and this dude's over here pounding jelly donuts at the office.
And you have to expect that to a certain extent all the time. It's like, but I don't care. If that's the case, say it. Then we say, all right, we know you're only at like 80%. That's cool. Or you're only at 70%. At least we know from there what changes can be made to make it continue to work.
And that would be just disheartening in general. Like if I was your client, you're like, so I can see that you're not all in. You're only at about 70% effort. Like, dang. You know, but to me, that would just be difficult, man, not seeing the transformation.
Yeah, and that's partly why when I really got into training, I wanted to be a strength and conditioning coach. I wanted to work with a professional team at strength conditioning because everybody's driven there. They have a reason. They want to get paid. So when you have that, it's a lot easier because you tell them to do something like, oh, yeah, I'm going to do this because it's beneficial to what I want.
You know how there's a lot of people that they specifically work with bodybuilders, posing, and this kind of stuff, like people who already know how to work out. Like, is that kind of like your niche now, or have you not gotten into that? Because that, to me, seems like that would fit what you're trying to do. And it seems like a little bit higher dollar clientele, you know what I mean? It's like an upgrade. It's like a neighbor's cut, man, where you pay top dollar rather than going to Great Clips. But you get a better end product too. You know what I mean?
I think a lot of people that can do bodybuilding don't understand the extent to it, regardless. When it starts out, unless you've been doing it for years, people really don't know. And I thought about that. I've kind of started to transition to doing that from my own experience and myself personally. Bodybuilders are divas, and I can say that and be for real. Like, it's high maintenance. Because you're managing every aspect of a person's life, like from their sleep, what they eat, supplements, time in the gym, time doing cardio. It's a big time commitment. So when there is anything unclear, they don't know what the hell to do. It's just like it falls apart. So you really have to be on top of them all the time, every aspect, daily. And when you start to grow a lot of clients that way, it's a big time commitment. So I do it a little bit. I only focus on a couple people a year, and that's it. Because it's tough. It is, and yeah, I know when I had a couple coaches, and that was something new. I finally hired my first coach 2 years ago. All the other time it was always just me. So I finally had an outside eye. I had someone tell me what to do, and when things aren't going exactly the way you expect them to go, it's like, why the hell am I doing this? Why should I listen? Why? I found myself questioning, even though I knew the people and I trusted them, like. It's like, be quiet and trust the process. So that was a new experience for me, which made a whole other thing when I started going back to my clients. I'm like, damn, I can see how they feel now. I need to make sure every single detail is there so they're not questioning anything. But
ain't that weird that the top coaches in the world have coaches? Like, I got a coach. I coach agents. I got a coach. And the coaching company that I use, in order to be a coach at that company, you have to be a customer too. They won't let you coach it unless you're a customer. But there's something to that, though.
You have to understand both sides of it.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to tell someone to do something, but if you don't understand what it's like to be told and what that, because, I mean, big thing, it's psychological, and there's a lot of emotional stuff that's a part of that. Any coaching, whatever you're coaching, whenever you're working with people. So I think that's another aspect. Like, you're talking about someone not paying attention or not following through. There's the other side of it. It's not just the hey, here's your orders, follow them. But there's a whole other side of things, the factors and how their mindset is and their environment. And you have to take that into account. So,
So besides yourself, the transformation that you've made yourself, what is the best transformation you made on a client? Like, you've helped them make for themselves?
So I've had a couple. And I started training in Chicago. And one of my first clients was probably one of my best transformations. And I worked at a box gym. It was Export out in Chicagoland area. I love that gym. And I had two people in specific. I'm going to kind of go off that question a little bit, talk about one person, then come back to that.
Okay.
But it opened my eye up to how important the health and fitness is for people. People make a lot of excuses. But I had one client who literally would tell me, hey, I won't be able to train with you this week because I get paid next week and I won't be able to pay you until then. Like, he was not having any like spare money because he knew how important his health was, and he was putting everything into our training to make sure that he can lose weight, become healthier, get off the medications he was on. Whereas I've had other clients who are like, yeah, put the money out, but I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. Like you were saying, I'm like, it was crazy. Now I understand. At least I had both experiences. Say excuses are excuses. Even when it comes down to the financial side of things, yes, there are levels. I get that. But when people start talking about the money and that, I'm like, this dude was literally putting his last dime to make sure he was good. So, But as far as the biggest transformation, it was in that same gym where they had like a big, 90-day transformation thing they did. And I was working with a guy who was in medical school at the time. And I think I won a lottery with him, let's be real. He was a former athlete who's overweight now in med school. So like his discipline was unreal. Everything I told him to do, he did. And in those 90 days, I think he lost like 107 pounds.
Dang.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and he looked amazing. He was like, I mean, we got in the gym with him. We worked out like it was either 2 or 3 times a week. And whatever I said, he did it as hard as he possibly could. I don't think he ever got off of what we told him to do with his meal plan, like stuck to it every single day. I'm like, and even then, I wasn't even that big in nutrition, so I was kind of helping him while he kind of maneuvered his way around something he found that he thought would work. I'm like, all right, let's just make sure it makes sense, and then we just modify little small things as needed. And it was amazing. He looked awesome. I wish I still had some. I do have some of his pictures, but yeah, he was awesome, and he won. It's like a big company-wide competition. He won, what was it, $5,000 because he got 3rd place.
Oh,
so I'm like,
nice.
Yeah.
So that was the goal for him to lose 100?
Well, it was just the biggest transformation. It was just a 90-day transformation thing, and out of first at least 7,000 people that did it, he got 3rd.
7,000, dang.
Yeah. So yeah, that was it was great for me. Pat on the back.
Yeah, I know you felt good about that.
And then the company, everybody's like, oh, who's this guy? New trainer. He's been here for 6 months and he's already doing this. I'm like, yep.
So you started training there, and what year was that?
It's right after I graduated, 2010, 2011.
2010. So you've been training for what was that, math, 15 years, about 14, 13, somewhere in there. And so then your next job was when you came here to Lifetime?
Before that, so I was only there for like 6 months.
Oh.
So that was right after I got married, and my wife and I were like, yeah, let's get out of here. Because we were in the cold. She grew up in Minnesota, and I was out there, Chicago area. And I'm like, I've always wanted to live in Texas, California, or Florida. Where do you want to go? She's like, Florida. 3 months later, we moved. It was awesome. It was so fun.
So then y'all moved to Florida and moved back up here?
Yeah.
Why do people do that, man? Like, what was the cause? Like, I'm legitimately want to know.
Yep, only one reason, our son.
Okay.
That was it. We loved Florida. Florida was amazing. Man, it was so fun. We met some really good people, had a great life there. But we wanted to be closer to family. So we're like, when we have start our family, we'll come back up and be near family. We'll decide if we're going to go to Minnesota or Chicago. And Minnesota won.
Usually she does.
So we moved back a little bit earlier than I thought we would, though, because our son was born in October, and we were in Minnesota in March. I thought we would wait till he's going to start school.
Okay, yeah.
But it is what it is. Because that was a big thing. I just didn't want to, not knocking Florida. I'm knocking Florida a little bit. I didn't want to be in their school system.
Mm-hmm.
Where we were at was decent, but nah.
So you worked at probably, 2-3 actual gyms before you started your own personal training company. So you worked at Lifetime after that, which is where I met you. Yep, and now you have your own training company.
Running it.
Greg McBride Training, which, really, really clever name, man. Like, we got the Rob Cory Show. I'm like, oh, man, we're geniuses. And I'm like, what's your training company? You're like, Greg McBride Training. I'm like, dang, man, we really aren't very creative, are we?
Man, I remember when I first was trying to figure it out, I put down a list of names. I mean, I was trying to be meticulous about it, and I put it out to my small circle.
We did the same thing, man.
I had like 3 names I really liked, and then I'm like, Trainer Greg McBride, Apex Training, and then like my podcast name, More Than Muscle. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
I like that.
And I'm like, but do I want to have a name out that doesn't really mean much to anyone? Or do I want to put my name, but I'm not really a big name? So I'm like, I'm going to be a big name. So let's put my name on it.
That's good thinking, though. Good thinking.
Well, the reason why a lot of people don't use their own name is so they can take themselves out of the equation at some point. You know what I mean?
Yep. And
still run like a training company. But I love the name of your podcast. Is there any other podcasts that run by the same name? The More Than Muscle podcast?
There's something similar. So like when I went to go put them in there, I think there is a couple have very, very similar, if not that name. I'm like, man, I thought that was like super
that's the one thing is that's what we were running into is that everything we came up with, we're like high-fiving because we thought we have it. And then we look and there's like 25 other podcasts the same exact name.
Except for one.
Yeah, there's no Rob Cory Show. We're the only one.
Actually, two. Ear orgasm was.
Oh yeah. That was. We're like, there's not one of them either. Let's go for that.
Hey,
we did a quick poll with two people and it didn't.
It didn't go over well.
It didn't
go over well.
We had to do too much explaining.
So let's talk a little bit about the training company now. You said you do a lot of stuff online, so a lot of virtual stuff. And I know some bodybuilders that have hired their coach online, never met their coach in real life. So there's definitely something to it. And after COVID, I think a lot of things kind of moved online.
That was probably the biggest thing that made me want to shift because you never know, something like that could happen again, for one. And the uncertainty of it. And then people realize, hey, I'm great in person. In person is my forte, no question. When I get my hands on someone and actually see and physically be a part of that, that's a big difference. But you can do a lot virtually. And I've got the leverage of my app that I use now where I put in tons of time. And we were talking about getting cameras and stuff like that. That was one of the first things I did was start recording videos that I could put in there, explaining form, working on, videos to teach about nutrition and mobility and the importance of that stuff. And I could just throw it all in there and it's kind of like a one and done thing, but it has everything that people would get when they're in person. And then I can also be a little bit more engaged with them through messaging and different things like that. Whereas when you're with an in-person trainer, more often than not, it's like people don't want to deal with it except in that session.
See, I had one trainer. It wasn't on this podcast. I was chatting with him at one point. He was at Bally's this is way back in the day. And I remember him telling me that when he trains people, he typically will stick to, and this is going to sound like some snake oil salesman stuff, but he said he didn't really want, didn't want to tell them what to do for them to do it. He always wanted them to rely on him.
Yep. And
I said, well, what is that? Like, what do you mean? He's like, well, if they're doing push-ups, I'm applying pressure to their back. He's like, whatever it is, I'm always involved with the workout. He's like, that way they get used to, okay, when I work out, I use my trainer. So that way they're not going to cancel training with me. I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. But online, obviously, everything you do, they could just take that package and use it forever at that point. It's kind of like they buy it and they're like, all right, I'm good. It's like buying a royalty-free song, right? You own it for life, you know?
And yeah, that's another aspect to where I think I like that. First of all, I want to teach people to be sufficient.
Correct. Yeah, self-sufficient for sure.
And confident that they can do anything on their own because it's their health. On the other side, it challenges me as well to how can I add more value? Because, again, there's tons of stuff out there. They can go Google stuff. They can go look on Instagram, YouTube, and put together all type of things. But what do I have that's above and beyond that? So it challenges me to do that.
Well, I would say for sure, like just being able to reach out to you. You know what I mean? Because like I can go on bodybuilding.com and watch a program and follow it, but I don't have any communication with those people if I have questions or if I don't like something to try to figure out like another variation of it or something like that. You know what I mean? So I mean that to me that's one thing right there, right? They can reach out to you. You're going to respond to them one-on-one. Is it one-on-one or is it group?
I'm one-on-one right now. Eventually, I'll probably do some group stuff when I get enough people like, hey, this is the track that we're working on. Everyone who wants to, work on specifically building muscle, let's all get together. And there's benefits to that too. You can learn from each other. So
what does a personal trainer cost? What's the average cost for one-on-one training?
It's like in person, or are you still talking the virtual?
Well, I don't know. Is it different?
It's so different. I mean, it's all over the board. Like, I'm not even gonna try and downplay like YMCA, but there's some place where you look in, there's still probably people that still charge like $45 an hour for a session, to where you can also go somewhere where someone's charging $250 an hour. I mean, the range is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. But I think the median's closer to 55, 60. Like my in person is 125.
Because I feel like because my business model in my head, and I'm just looking at like other training programs, would be like X amount per month for one-on-one, a little bit less for like one-on-3, a little bit less for 1-on-5, you know what I mean? And spread it out like that and just have it be like a monthly payment, you know what I mean?
And I think that's where most things are starting to kind of shift towards, and I've actually looked at trying to do some structures like that, but I'm still a big fan of the one-on-one. I can do well with maybe 3 people, and I feel they will get good attention and everything they need. 5 is the max. Anyone that does anything over that, it's definitely for sure a small group, and you can't really expect to have that tailored program. If anyone says it is, they're lying. It's almost impossible to do.
I mean, and then have like just a full-on subscription service, just classes online.
Yeah,
hire a couple other personal trainers to run a couple classes for you. You pay them once, you get to keep it forever, and run it kind of like Peloton, some of their stuff. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking outside the box, man.
It's funny you say that. I'm literally in the process of. I started that 2 weeks ago.
Oh,
I did it in the past a bunch of times, but I never finished it. So I'm starting over fresh, and because there's a bunch of people. Well, honestly, you have to have different offers. I know. I tell everyone I know I'm not cheap. I know it's not an inexpensive thing to do. So like, hey, this is the cream of the crop, yes. And there's going to be other things that I'm going to start to roll out to say, hey, you can still get great results. It won't be the 100% focus on what you need specifically. Like your body may be a little different, but it's going to get you good results if you follow it regardless. Yeah. So I'm working on some of that stuff.
Well, dude, but there's a lot of people out there that won't buy cheap stuff. You're looking at one of them. Rob makes fun of me all the time. So, like, it'll be the same exact thing. I'm like, there's something up with this one, man. I don't know why it's $200 cheaper. I'm not getting it. I'm getting the more expensive one. There's got to be a reason behind it. And Alex Shozi, you know who that is?
That name sounds real
Alex Shozi, he's that acquisition.com guy. He's all over the place. But he tweeted, he was like, you know how to make rich people buy from you? And he was like, figure out what everyone else is doing. Do it to the same level, twice as fast, and charge double. And it's like, that makes perfect sense to me. If you can be more convenient, people with money will pay for that.
Because it's all about convenience. Their time is very valuable.
Yeah, correct.
Yep, I get that.
And so, like, I forgot what else I was watching where this dude was talking about how he was, I think this is some rich guy talking about, I think he owned like a resort in Vegas or something, and he was talking about how he can make a ton of money off these pizzas late night because there's a lot of rich people that are there, and he can charge like $100 for a pizza and they'll still buy it because they're like, I need something to eat right now, and that's the $100 is nothing to me. You know what I mean?
That's crazy though. Hey, that's the way to think about it. If you're trying to, really grow something, that's.
So 2 questions.
I'm taking notes right now. Go ahead.
Do you have 3 different tiers of prices, like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, and do you have a product that you are going to start like?
This dude's like the king of merch, man. He's like the king of merch. Like right now, he's like, I could come up with some merch for you right now. That's what he's thinking right now.
It's funny.
Do you have like a band that you're coming up with, or
so like right now the main thing is the merch. The programs that I do.
Okay.
The individual programs. So what I found out is I get results for people who stay committed. It's everything. Consistency is what matters. So I used to have it like just kind of running like this month to month, like we were talking about, kind of like a monthly subscription type thing, but found that it was still like lagging. There was a disconnect with a lot of clients. So I shifted where I said, okay, we're working on 6-month commitments. That's what I do. So you get me for 6 months and we'll make something happen. Because when people have that mindset, then they're like, all right, I have time. I get to focus on this. And when you see results, you're going to want to keep seeing results. Mm-hmm. But when I had that month to month, it's like people underestimate what they do over an extended period of time. Mm-hmm. So it's like.
But then they're mad if they don't do something really quick.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Exactly. So it's like if it's a month later, they're like, it didn't work. But then 6 months later, it's like, dang, I can't believe I got here. Yeah,
it makes a huge difference. So I'm like, I hated the idea of the month to month because then again, sometimes it might take a full 2-3 weeks just to make sure I figure out exactly what your body does with what I'm giving you. So then from there, I'm like, all right, we got it. Boom. Now we can start seeing results. Then you only give me a week to show those results. And it's like, well, we did all the back work. Never got a chance to actually reap the benefits of it. Mm-hmm. And now you're like, yeah, I don't know.
So like I got this idea for training, which is like, it's like I compare it to my wife. My wife does hair. It's like people will come in and they have like black hair, but they want like brown hair, or they want like blonde hair or something, right? And they expect them just to come in, give her a couple $100 and leave with blonde hair. And Rob probably knows what I'm talking about because he's also a cosmetologist himself. And so she'll tell them like, okay, well at this time, I'm going to get you to this color. It's not going to be blonde, but it's going to not be black either. It's going to be like brown. You know what I mean? And the next time you come in, so like for personal training, like somebody comes in, you gauge like, okay, you're this level, you're bronze right now. We're trying to get you to a platinum. You know what I mean? So in the next 6 months, our goal is to get you to silver. You know what I mean?
It's funny. I never thought of explaining anything like that, but that makes.
And then, you know, by 12 months, we want to get you to gold. By 18 months, we'll have you to platinum, but you have to follow the plan. And so then the whole goal is if they can reach from bronze to silver, they're going to feel like they won. You know what I mean? They'd be like, I did it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which they did, because it takes time to do any of this stuff, right? You can't do any of this stuff overnight.
They're going to be packages right there.
Yeah. So it's funny. So I started to kind of focus. So you saw I got my Trainer Greg McBride. If you listen to any of my videos, podcasts, the way I started, like Trainer Greg McBride, AKA Mr. More Than Muscle, the Dad Bod Destroyer. So I was
going to talk about the Dad Bod Destroyer here.
So that's something that I realized. I'm like, okay, so I need to have a more focused attack on how I go about. I mean, let's be real, just myself in marketing and getting the clients who I know I can help the most. And again, having something that I'm passionate about. And so when I started the More Than Muscle, that's because as a kid, I just hated stereotypes. Like, oh, it's this big, dumb, strong guy. Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, there's so many other aspects to most people.
So is your podcast even about personal training? You just talk about more than muscle, there's other things.
So I'll always bring it back to the fitness thing, but I'm trying to incorporate some of that other stuff as well. So it's all about more or less lifestyle. And so anything I talk about applying to health and fitness, I say how it works as well with the life. As far as like, I'm all about achieving goals. So it's primarily about that. However it gets done, what are those key elements to be successful and optimize yourself? So that's what it's mainly about. But then I realized, man, once I had my son, everything changed. Like the way I looked at life, the way I tried to move forward in life. And then there's other complications that come along with it as well. You know, you got some other people to take care of. So it's not solely focused on what can I do to be better? What can I do to make my family better?
Yeah.
And so I realized it's tough. And there's a lot of men, because I'm focusing on men that don't have anyone to help them with that, and then to tell them, okay, this isn't going to be easy. These are the things you need to say. Hey, quit being a dummy. Leave this alone. Go here. And especially when it comes to health, it's your family, your career, and then yourself, and how you're going to manage that. And I still battle with this. Like, I really want to put all my effort and time into training and getting my clients to see results, but it's like, okay, I have to make sure I take care of my wife. I make sure I take care of my son. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how much time do I delegate for this and that? It's like, it's can be a real struggle. So that's where I got into like, okay, I need to figure out how to help people do that, because yes, as a man, it's like you want to protect, provide, you know, so how do I do that, but don't let myself waste away, because then you're not helping anyone.
Correct. Yeah. If you don't have your health, then you don't have really anything. You lose motivation. It's kind of funny, man, because every single time, like, I scale back, if I focus on health and I scale back, let's just use, anything, man, playing video games, drinking beer, whatever. As soon as you scale back, it kind of like, you'll be like, man, I really enjoy some of this, like, just, I really enjoy the way that this family time, this family time spent it just means more to you, like, because you don't have all of that dopamine hits. You don't have the dopamine hits, like the excess of, like, dang, what's the word? I don't know, man, like this excess stimulation, man. So you don't have all the extra stimulation. So now the stuff that's normal feels better. You know what I mean? Yep. Like, yeah, dang, man, I really like reading this book right now, man, because, I'm not playing Madden every night or something like that. Like, this book is more enjoyable to me now.
Everything's an addiction. Everything's about building habits. Yeah. That's the key foundation. Everything I talk about, that's it right there, the habits. Yeah. You got to decide what's important. Focus on that, because you give too much of your energy or time to other things, and that becomes everything. You can't, it's hard to focus on two. You can't really do it. It doesn't happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Habit stacking.
Yeah.
Like ET says.
Yeah, habit stacking. That's from the what's the habit book that I was talking about? Atomic Habits. That's the habit stack right there. Every time I do this, I'm going to do that. Is basically the habit stack, and that does work as well.
But I do know what you mean when you're talking about when you cut back on stuff. Like when I'm not posting, like I stay off of social media, it's like, okay, I'm going to give myself a break, because sometimes you get on there and it's like, okay, I got to put this on there. I got to put this on there. I got to put that on there. And it's just like the more things that we do, the more reels we got to make, the more pages that we run.
When you do post, you're like,
and then you're trying to get more clients. You're trying to, and so sometimes you just
worrying about all the analytics.
You post, you post, and
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I got these likes, I got these views, you know what I mean? So it's like you take a break from the stimulation, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, you know, it was really chill today watching this movie with, you know, my son or whatever, you know what I mean? Whereas if you're always going, you're like watching the movie, but at the same time you're going, all right, I got to check this, I got to check that, you know what I mean?
That's probably what my wife gets most frustrated with me about. Yeah. I'm that person, like, I enjoy it. I want to do the other thing, but it's like in the back of my mind, I'm like, I could be so productive in this other area right now. But you got to stay in the moment, and it'll happen.
And it's really all the different aspects of health and fitness. If I eat healthy, right? And so, like, let's just say, you know, I stop eating candy or something like that. Like, I'll eat a piece of fruit, and I'm like, man, this is so good. You know what I mean? But if you're eating candy every day, you eat soup, you're like, gross. You're like, I don't want this apple. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. It's like you don't have that extra stimulation that we weren't meant to always have. You know what I mean?
That sugar intake. That's the legal crack right there.
It's just with anything, man. I stop eating fast food, and all of a sudden I'll cook at home. I'm like, this is a really nice meal. Or if I'm eating out every day, I'll be like, man, why can't I cook like Chipotle can? You know what I mean?
Ever have like a time where you like stay away from fast food for a while, and then you go back and have it, like, this stuff is horrible.
This ain't even good. Yeah, yep. This ain't even good. You know, it's the same thing with like Diet Pop is not good for you. So I'm not trying to say it is, but if you ever switch over to like sparkling water or Diet Pop, and then someone throws you like a regular pop and you drink it, it's like sludge. It's like thick. It's like syrup.
It's hard.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah,
my mom was the first one to have me on that. My mom, when I was in high school, I think she went like a year or two without drinking any soda. So I hopped in there too, had a year without drinking soda. I almost died the first time I had a Coke. I'm just coughing. I'm like, man, why is it so bubbly? And
exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
You're used to it. Let's transition to destroying dad bods, man. It says destroying dad bods. Is that part of your business, your training business, or do you have a specific program for dads?
So that's just like my mission right there, because fathers, you have to be there. I think that's underrated right now. Yes, we talk about the support and providing financial. It's gotten to where that is so important to so many people that their health just gets put to the side.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as developing kids and relationships, whether you're rich, whether you're poor, your kids really don't know until someone tells them. Let's be real. They'll be happy, they'll be content if there's love and if you're there. So I preach that, and I try and teach people the importance of that. And like one of my clients specifically that I'm working with now, he has been trying to lose a lot of weight, and we've worked on it. He's done a great job, but he got to the point where he's like, man, I hate telling my kids no. He's like, they want to go out and go play this and go for a walk. He's like, I just don't have the energy to do it. And he's like, I'm out of breath when we go for walks, so I want to cut the walk short and things like that. And so I'm like, I had to tell him, like, live in that, feel that pain, and understand that it doesn't have to be like that, and let's figure out how to get you to a better place. And I think one of the really cool stories is they went on a vacation not too long ago, and we had a weight goal we had to get to, because where they went, they were going to try and zip line. And he's like, right now, I weigh too much. I can't do it.
Oh, that's a good motivation right there. Yeah, so he checked it, and they're like, nah, you got to be under 250 or whatever.
Yep. So he's like, I want to be able to zip line with my kids. I'm like, all right, let's do it. And literally, like the week before, he got about 5 pounds under that mark. I'm like, let's go. And he got back, showed me pictures and videos of them doing it. I'm like, that's what it's about. Like, it has to hurt to like say, I can't do something because I'm not healthy enough to do it, or I can't do this because I'm too big to do that right now.
Nah, dude, I seen that I take my family to Wisconsin Dells every year, and I felt bad because this dude climbed the slide with his boy to go down some water slide, and he got to the top and he couldn't go down, and he had to walk back down the stairs. I was like, that was rough.
Yeah.
It's like a kid not being tall enough to get on a ride.
Pretty much. The opposite of that.
Yeah, except your height's going to come then, whether or not it's going to come or not come. Your weight, you have a little bit more you can work with. You got some control over that.
Yeah.
So your son right now, you know, he sees his dad, the bodybuilder. He might not know if you're rich or poor, but he does know you're a strong guy. And I'm bringing this up because my son has always looked at me as a strong guy. And there was one time where I took my shirt off and my son looked physically sad, like he was going to cry. And I was like, I really got to start getting back to the gym. Like, they do care about that, man.
You was out of shape.
Yeah. So if your son sees you as a superhero, he wants you to stay a superhero, and that's the motivation for me, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
I never want to be with my dad. Or my dad he was that way. Always real fit. I mean, he's in his 60s now, and
Same.
solid. He told me when we were growing up, he was a basketball guy, and he was like, "You'll never beat me in basketball before you graduate high school." And that was one of his things. He fought hard for it too. I mean, legit. We probably got almost to some physical fights out there playing basketball, but he was always in shape, and it did kind of rub off on me. And I'm like, man, that meant a lot. That any given time he can come out there and run with me and do stuff. And yeah, I would never want to take that away. The opportunity for that to happen.
That's amazing, because my dad was basketball too. So growing up, he had me lifting young, curling, and I always thought that was the reason I wasn't super tall. But I was good at basketball, unlike Corey says. But
I'm just saying, LeBron James is LeBron James.
He's still in good shape after giving me one of his kidneys 11 years ago. So that's even more amazing. And so we're getting ready to go on this cruise with my family, my immediate family, like my sons and my wife and daughter. And I told my sons, I said, we're going to at least work out 3 times while we're on the ship.
Yes, sir.
So now, because they don't work out with me at home. It's like, oh, I worked out at school today. Oh, I already worked out. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get you. I'm gonna get you one of these days, and we're gonna go super hard.
And it's nice. I mean, that's a bonding thing right there too.
Yeah.
And that's why I love just men groups. I mean, you get there, you just get to push each other, give each other a hard time. Yeah. But I think that's just the way men operate. We regardless if we still think about the hierarchy thing, but it comes into play. I remember growing up, every one of my friends I ever had, the first time we met, we got into a fight. That's how it was. All my best friends, we fought at one point.
And then you have respect for each other afterwards.
Exactly. You know exactly where you stand. You know who you are, what you stand, what you believe, and how you handle yourself. So I'm like, and I think that's what happens with sports, and you can get that with your kids too. Even if it's not against someone else, themselves, they can see who they are, what they're made of, kind of thing. And that's why I love weightlifting.
But when you lay the groundwork of being physically fit as a lifestyle, I think that's all the difference in the world. Like playing basketball with my dad growing up, fit, cardio, always working out, exercising. You carry that over. Now, maybe you get in a relationship, you put on a couple pounds, you see it, she sees it. It's like, you know what? I know what I got to do. I got to get back in shape. And you challenge yourself because you've done it before. Mm-hmm. You get back in shape, and then you have kids. Okay, I got to stay in shape because my kids is going to be doing something. Like your dad said, you're never going to beat me in basketball, so he stayed in shape.
Did you beat him?
All right, let me tell you a story. So,
I gotta know.
In 7th grade, I was probably the best. Weird, but 7th grade, I was really good. My shot was on point. I beat him. He'll argue. We played 21 in the yard, and I beat him 21-7. And so my dad's 6 feet, 6'1", so he's bigger than me. And he was like, "Oh, we're playing at 31." I'm like, "Nah, we were playing at 21." He's like, "We're playing at 31." I ain't score again. He bagged me down the whole game, and I lost 31-21. So I'm like, I told him I beat him that one time.
So he switched. He just moved the bar.
Yeah,
that's fun. That's great. That's a good
story.
story.
Told you, he only, losing was not something he liked, just like me. So
my son is in the chess club, man, and I taught him how to play chess. And
nice.
he's 9 years old. He just beat me in chess yesterday. I was irate, man.
I'm about to say,
I'm not gonna lie. I was so mad, dude. I was trying to play it off like, "Good job, buddy. You learned a lot." And I was like, I'm about to start watching some YouTube videos.
Exactly. Yep.
Figure out some strategies here, man.
And yeah, I don't want that day to happen. My son's gonna be a big boy too. That's why I'm a little nervous. I got to make sure I stay right because he's 7. He's up here on me.
Yeah.
I'm like, bro, you don't look me in the eye when you're 12. So make sure he understands. Hey, I don't care how big you are. It's daddy over here. So
yeah, definitely.
So is there merch coming or any McBride?
I've messed around with a few
tools,
things, so
fitness?
I'm gonna get that. What I want to do, my biggest goal, kind of a dream, is to do. We're talking about the more than muscle kind of idea. I want to set guidelines, legit standards of. I'm gonna say what I consider being a man for real. You'll be able to do these physical feats. Let's just focus on the physical side of things, but there's gonna be other stuff as well, but mainly the physical. Run a mile in X time, bench 225, bench your body weight 12 times, and have different levels of. I started this when I was in Florida. The idea was the alpha male is what I called it then. but now I'm gonna have to put it in with my new branding. But yeah, there's standards. There's different levels to the game, and where do you find out where you stack up?
Have you seen those stats on TikTok and stuff where they're talking about like what percentage of men can lift 405 versus 315 versus 225 and all that? 225, like there's not a lot of people that can bench 225. The percentage is low.
You would think it'd be way higher.
I know, because we used to rep it. I remember putting up like 21 times one time because,
you're a gym goer. You compare yourself to other people who go to the gym, and that's still a very small percentage of people. And that's what's crazy to think about. It's like, oh, the one thing that hit me the hardest was the sprinting one, if you've heard that one.
I haven't heard that one.
They were saying that almost, I forget, it was a very low percentage. Like most people don't sprint after the age of 30.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that.
They just don't. I'm like, when the first time I heard it, I think I was like 34. I'm like, yeah, I still do great. A couple years later, I barely do myself. I'm like, man, I got to make sure I don't let this go away because it's a skill. It is a skill. You don't do it, you lose it.
Mm-hmm.
Hurt yourself, pull a muscle. We talking about being fit for family. That's one of the things I really think about. Somebody's trying to snatch my son. Am I going to be able to chase him down?
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll sit there, sprint for 2 steps. Like, oh, dang. Somebody call the cops. I can't do anything, you know?
Oh, man.
That'll hurt me really hard if something like that ever happened.
Yeah. The 405 thing was funny because the stat was like, when you do the math on the stat, it's like 1,000 people out of like 7 billion people can bench 405 or whatever it was. I was like, dang, if this is real, this is unbelievable, man.
And social media makes you think everybody can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, sure. So a few years back, I had a client that used to open up Harding Field for us. Mm-hmm. I used to bring out cones, and we used to do drills, kind of like a mini combine, but I would have family and some friends go. And they started doing some flag football events over there, so we couldn't do it anymore. But it just felt good to get outside and sprint, stretch, run all the way down the field, run around the track, run up and down the bleachers to exercise with a group of people that wanted to do it. And I want to try and get that back to where we're sprinting down a football field. Everybody, you got your cleats on or whatever it is, and you feel as if you are an athlete and not somebody that just jumped up off the couch.
Yeah.
And it's only a chosen few of us that want to do it. And so once you start doing it, then people are like, oh, yeah, I want to do it. They don't show up. It looks good until
it's not easy.
Yeah, until you go out there and actually put the work in. But first you got to get past silver, then you got to get to gold, then the platinum. You know what I'm saying? You can't just jump into gold where we at.
Well, it depends on the person, you know what I mean? But so when you say you work out in person, you have a spot. Like we've had some trainers on here that have, stuff at their house. Where's your gym at? Where are you at?
So I train out of a gym in it's in Oakdale. So when I first moved to Minnesota, this is where I thought I'd be. I was trying to do a corporate fitness for the building Forefront. If you know, right out there, south by the, I wish I knew a street, but there's a Target Pins right over that way.
Okay,
it's a big technology campus. So I train right out there. So it's a nice gym in there. And yeah, that's what I work out of, and I get my people in there and get for the one-on-one when I get the in-person.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you had like 2 parts to that question, but I forgot the second part.
No, I was just curious where you were working out from. I know that there's like you ever heard of Bedros Keuilian, and he started a Fit Body Boot Camp.
Man,
and he started doing he started the whole thing basically renting out dance studios during the day because no one dances during the day. So you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that way he could rent out space and he could sell he could sell Fit Body Boot Camp franchises to other people, and everything was in a totes. You know what I mean? Just go around a different day. He had little contracts with different dance studios. All right, you're one of my franchisees. Here's your tote. You go do the system over here at this dance studio. They're letting us have it from 11 to 1. You know what I mean? I don't know.
So yeah, there's so many different ways to go about approaching, especially fitness. I think the reason I'd love to do something like that, but the hard part for me is my emphasis is always on it's not just getting fit, because I think you can do that in a lot of ways. I want to be fit and strong.
Yeah, you're more of like a heavyweight. Yeah, you need a place that already has weights and
no
stuff
matter
like that.
what, if you want to be strong, you have to move some type of weight. You can't get strong any other way, really. Yes, if you're doing a crap ton of reps, you'll get some strength, but it's super inefficient. So it's like, hey, if you want to be strong, you got to live strong.
Sweet.
Simple facts.
Yeah. I just put down my 25-pound dumbbells and graduated 35, so I won't touch them all this year. So
congratulations, man! You moved from bronze to silver, man.
see, you gotta level
Next
up.
level. We'll get you to the alpha. Yeah.
See, I was always natural body weight, so I never really lift heavy. So
Yeah,
now it's
you're more like a super lean physique.
yeah.
See, I bet you can go do some rock climbing stuff, no problem, though, because you know how to manage your own body weight.
Yeah.
Someone like me, say, I'm asked, how much you weigh?
170, 75, somewhere in there.
Probably where I think my natural body weight brings me closer to that 180, maybe 185 now. But I'm sitting around 210 now.
Okay. So that's why I quit working legs so many years ago, man. It's because I need to do some rock climbing. I could have all the strength in my upper body, man. You know what I mean?
So you're gonna go rock climbing. That's why, huh?
It's different.
All right, man. So do you have a website or someplace where people can sign up?
I do. Everything everywhere. Trainer Greg McBride is where you find it. TrainerGregMcBride.com. That's what I got on Instagram, Trainer Greg McBride, Facebook, Trainer Greg McBride. Finally got it all synced in.
Nice.
And working well. But
Congrats.
Where do we find the podcast at?
Podcast. I know I'm streaming on Spotify. I got some other ones. I don't know. They're out there. Spotify is the main one. But it's the Trainer Greg McBride's More Than Muscle podcast. That was my way to get around it.
There you go.
Straight More Than Muscle podcast was probably out there in a few other platforms. So I had to put Trainer Greg McBride's
More Than Muscle podcast. Cool, man. Cool.
Yeah. So when I'm going to get y'all in the gym.
Dude, you already know that. You already know, man. I told you, man. You're the guy I'm hiring, man. I'm in the gym myself being cheap, man. I'm like, what is Greg teaching that dude over there? I'm going to do that.
We should set something up.
Get a little workout in. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on over to my spot. It'll be fun. That's one of the things I want to do more regularly when I get people in on my podcast. Like, hey, we'll get a quick lift in, and then we'll chat.
Oh, that'd be a good idea. We've been plotting. I had the arm surgery, bone spurs removed. All this stuff threw me off, and it's still not right. It's been a couple of years. It's been a year since I had the surgery last February. But we were thinking about doing like a nice little, bringing the cameras and doing a nice little training montage somewhere.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, man.
Hey, let's do it.
I think it'd be
I'm
nice,
game.
especially with these cameras.
Yeah.
See every little drop of sweat, vein, slow mo.
Drooling,
They'll be
out
like,
of breath.
They'll
Yeah.
be like, these dudes are platinum. I want to go
I'll
work
make
out.
sure I edit it to where we look like we're platinum.
No. It's got to be natural. No steroids on the photo, on the video.
Photoshop, let's go.
Like Adobe, baby.
Yeah, let's set something up.
That'd be fun.
Thanks for coming by, man.
Yeah,
We
I appreciate it, man. I love this kind of stuff.
Absolutely, brother.
Gets people together.
Yeah. So if you haven't liked or subscribed to the channel for updates and more podcasts, hit the notification button. We appreciate you tuning in. And this is our guest, Greg McBride. We appreciate you watching. Till next time, peace.
Watch me educate. Yeah, we been could've started, but it's never late. Do it for my kids, yeah, let's set it straight. Do it for your kids, gotta set it straight. It's time to regulate.
For the video podcast and other exclusive video content, check us out on YouTube. That's The Rob Cory Show on YouTube.